So guys, this is Dow Phoenix, and I wanted to get on here to address some concerns that we've had recently over some changes to the Nintendo Creators Program. In case you're not aware, Nintendo Creators Program is a program that Nintendo operates that allows people to participate in monetization of their content on YouTube. By default, Nintendo will content ID games that feature footage of their titles, you know, any kind of live streamers or content creators on YouTube. If it's a Nintendo IP, they will typically content ID it and take the money for themselves. The Nintendo Creators Program is a program that they're trying to do as a goodwill gesture to still allow people to make money off of it. There's a lot of contention over the program, of course, and as far as I know, Nintendo is the only company that has such a precedent. But that being said, I did want to just, kind of go over a few things with this program here. So let me go ahead and pop over to the main window, since I'm not like a certain YouTuber that always does videos in black and white. I just kind of wanted to make a nice little fun transition. So there are a lot of questions in regards to the Nintendo Creators Program that I want to address with you guys. And of course, don't forget to check that shit down there. Just nice, friendly advice, because it really helps the channel grow. And as much as I love the views, I love the shares and subs too, guys. So be cool and excellent. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the very first question here. Do the changes in the program mean that there will be no more live streaming of Nintendo games? And the answer to that question is a simple no. You will still be able to live stream Nintendo games if you so choose. The fact of the matter is that Nintendo is not banning live streaming of their games. They don't really have a way that they can do that as a blanket thing. After all, YouTube streaming is designed to be as user-friendly as possible. YouTube wants to have as few restrictions as possible for people to hop on to do their live streams, because, I mean, that just makes sense. Why should they restrict that kind of content on their site? So, what Nintendo is trying to do, in essence, is they're trying to make a calculated response to some recent problems that have been going on during YouTube live streams. As you guys may have known, a few weeks ago, PewDiePie dropped the big N-bomb in the middle of a live stream that over 100,000 people were watching on YouTube at the time. And YouTube's already kind of been in hot water a little bit with advertisers. And, again, thanks to PewDiePie and other people like him. Not solely him, but he definitely has contributed to that problem. He's been kind of the face of that problem, if you will. And therefore we had Adpocalypse, Adgate, whatever you want to call it, where the advertisers are just kind of like fleeing the site. Nobody wants that to happen. We all want to be able to enjoy the option to make money on YouTube. Why not? It's doing something that we enjoy, and we put a lot of time and effort on these types of content that we create, so why not be rewarded for our efforts? That's the way I kind of see that. So what Nintendo is essentially trying to do, just to kind of answer the question, is the people that are actually part of the Nintendo Creators Program, they want to kind of rein them in. They want to be able to have some kind of control over the type of content. See, with the Nintendo Creators Program, they can curate the content. They can actually preview the content ahead of time to make sure that it is approved IP, approved content, approved use of Nintendo's products. And then they'll allow you, of course, to monetize off of it. A live stream is a completely different beast to a curated video that is created, because it is live. It happens as it unfolds. There is no way that if someone like PewDiePie was to stream a Nintendo game, then Nintendo would be able to control how that message is utilized. And so that's kind of why they're addressing that. Now, there's a lot of questions with that, of course. I'm going to get into it a bit more. I want to go ahead and move right on to question number 2. And so that is, does Nintendo take a majority cut of a video's ad revenue? Now, this is a misconception that is often had because I have seen various YouTubers in their language say that Nintendo takes a massive portion of the live streaming revenue, a majority stake. They also flub up the numbers. I don't know if it's intentionally or if maybe they just don't know the actual numbers, but they actually say numbers that are a lot different from the truth. And it's not hard to find the truth. You simply have to go to Nintendo's website. Now, the way YouTube revenue works in the first place, an advertiser will do an ad buy for so many impressions of their ad. Let's say, I don't know, maybe they pay $20 for 1,000 impressions of their ads. I don't know what the actual figures are, okay? I'm sure it's probably a lot more than that impressions-wise. But anyways, let's say they do that, right? So that means that ad's going to play that number of times. And, YouTube gets a cut of that $20, okay? Google's going to take their cut, which from what I understand, at least according to what I've read on the internet, Google takes 30% of that advertising revenue, or 40% actually. I think they take 40% of that. So out of that $20, Google is going to get $8 of that. That's 40% of that. So that's $12 that if you're a content creator that would get full revenue share, you would get that full $12. That's if you're not sharing it with any MCNs or anybody else. Now, the thing with Nintendo Creators Program is it completely skirts past MCNs. So, if you're part of a MCN such as Machinima or Screenwave or whoever, there's a ton of MCNs. I'm part of TGN myself. They're going to get their cut under most normal circumstances. But with the way the Nintendo Creators Program is designed, it actually skirts past that. You're technically, for that particular content, that MCN doesn't have any rights to it. It's Nintendo that has the rights to it. So from that part of it, it depends on if you're a content creator that is solely Nintendo, or if you're just doing it on a video-by-video basis. So if you're doing it on a video-by-video basis, you get 60% of the ad revenue. Yeah, Nintendo does take 40% of that remaining $12, which does kind of suck. I can definitely admit that. That would probably be somewhere between $4 to $5, right? But that being said, at the same time, it's not a majority stake because you can simply crunch the math. You are still going to get your money out of it as well. Google will end up getting the most money out of everybody, because it's their site. They have to pay for costs to upkeep the site and things like that, of course, which, kind of sucks. But, as a matter of fact is, you do still get a fair chunk of change. You get a decent portion of that revenue for that ad buy or whatever it is. So, it's not true that a majority stake is involved. No, you actually do get, besides Google, I suppose, the largest chunk of the revenue. And, it's just kind of disappointing that a lot of content creators are using misleading information or false information to state otherwise. So let's go ahead and move on to another question that I often see, and that is, doesn't Nintendo issue copyright takedowns and things like that? I put copyright rights because I screwed up, like with X YouTuber. That's one that I often hear about from a particular YouTuber. You may have heard of him. His name is Angry Joe. Angry Joe is probably the most infamous in terms of having conflicts with Nintendo in terms of monetization. Most famously, there was a video he did with him and some of his friends that were playing Mario Party 10. And Mario Party 10, of course, is a game made by Nintendo. Now, this game was flagged for Content ID, just like it normally would be. Which, by the way, Content ID, this whole Nintendo Creators Program already launched at that time. It's not like Angry Joe didn't know that this program was around. Nintendo announced their intentions to do it months before this video was ever uploaded. But anyways, just to kind of reiterate, Angry Joe, a lot of people that are fans of Angry Joe incorrectly cite that he had his videos taken down by Nintendo, or that Nintendo had issued a copyright strike on his channel. Both of those things are false. What Nintendo did is something called a content ID. That is basically where their video information that they send to YouTube is matched up with other content creators. And if it's a match, then that means Nintendo will automatically begin monetizing those videos. That's essentially what a content ID is. It doesn't apply any kind of restrictions on the video content, at least by default. There may be some exceptions to that, but for the most part, there's no restrictions to the video content. So that being said, that's what that's all about. So what happened to Angry Joe's video? Well, what happened simply is that Angry Joe elected to remove the video on his own. He could have opted to option the video as part of the Nintendo Creators Program, or he could have just simply let it not be monetized. But he decided to take the route of removing his video. I'm not sure if it's because he didn't understand how the program worked, or if he was just upset about what happened and he just kind of wanted to spite Nintendo by not giving him any more ad revenue. Whatever the case is, that's what happened. He made the choice to remove the video. Nobody else did. So, just wanted to kind of clarify that with you guys. So let's go ahead and move on to question 4. Does this mean even those not in the Creators Program cannot live stream Nintendo games anymore? That is a very good question. That is a very good question because a lot of people have a lot of confusion over this. So this change to the Nintendo Creators Program, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up, it has absolutely nothing to do with people that are not in the Nintendo Creators Program. If you're not in the Nintendo Creators Program, if you don't option videos to be in the Nintendo Creators Program, you're going to be completely unaffected by this change. Nintendo will still pick up their money off of your live streams that you do, whatever pennies or whatever it makes, right? But they'll still make that money. You'll still be able to live stream unrestricted. This also only applies to YouTube, of course, at least at this time. I have a theory that Nintendo is actually going to create a separate program specifically for live streamers. It'll probably be a little more strict than what the current program is, because they want to have more control over how their content is used, since live streaming is, like I said, a lot more volatile. But that being said, that's something to consider here. So that being said, just to kind of reiterate what is going on with this here. Does this affect people's ability to live stream? And the answer to that is no. Even if you're part of the Nintendo Creators Program, as long as, of course, you're streaming on other sources. I think what the problem that people are misconstruing here is you have to actually have your whole channel as a part of the Nintendo Creators Program. So that has to be a channel that exclusively covers Nintendo games on the channel. In order to get that extra revenue from Nintendo, you have to cover nothing but Nintendo games, which means you would get 70% of that remaining amount after Google's, take from it. So what that means essentially, okay, I want to explain why that is the case, okay? Nintendo cannot monetize anything that's not their IP. So let's say, for instance, if you're playing Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1. I saw one particular YouTuber that made the notion that Nintendo can go and monetize the content from that video. That is simply false, because Nintendo has no intellectual property ownership of that game. That's actually owned by Konami. And if you were to live stream Metal Gear Solid, Konami would actually do the claim on it. And unlike Nintendo, Konami doesn't give you any recourse to earn money on your own for that. They just simply take the money from their games. And that's just how it is. So, just to kind of reiterate, like I said, it's not going to affect you in the slightest if you're not monetizing. It's also not going to affect you if you only participate on a video-to-video basis, because you could still live stream content. Now, that said, you may not be able to monetize that content until the stream is over with and made as a regular video. Then you can claim it as part of the Nintendo Creators Program. I have several videos that I've done on the channel in the past that have been part of that. So, if you are actually in the Nintendo Creators Program, if you're a channel that covers nothing but Nintendo games, something like, say, Game Explain or something like that, then essentially, if you really wanted to live stream Nintendo games, you would have to, unfortunately, use another avenue, which kind of sucks. Hopefully, Nintendo can come up with a solution for that. But a lot of people stream on Twitch, and Twitch seems to be more popular overall for streaming anyways. So it probably makes sense to just stream on Twitch, I would imagine. So let's go ahead and move on to the next question, because I kind of ramble a lot there. Does Nintendo get revenue from Super Chat or other such sources? Stuff like Patreon and any kind of other revenue that's not related to YouTube advertising. This, of course, is also false. You can read the language of the Nintendo Creators Program. It says absolutely nothing about that stuff whatsoever. Super Chat is also between only you and YouTube. So MCNs and things like that have absolutely no involvement in that. So whenever you get a Super Chat, maybe it's $2 or something like that, you're going to get a majority stake of that. I don't know what the exact numbers are. I'm sure you get like 80 or 90%, something really nice like that. So you'll probably, let's say it's 90%. You get 90%, so you'll get $1.80. Google will get their 20 cents. Life goes on, right? That's how that works. So just a simple answer, Nintendo has nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with Patreon. They have no way to take that revenue from you. Not legally, at least. That would certainly be a very interesting precedent if they did that. So number 6. Does Nintendo claim videos that aren't of their own IP to take their cut? So I kind of already touched on that a little bit, and the answer, of course, is simply no. Nintendo has no way to do that. As a matter of fact, if you may note, there are certain games that are not part of Nintendo Creators Program. Games like Super Smash Bros. Now you might wonder, well, why are those games not on there? That's because those games feature intellectual property from franchises that are not owned by Nintendo. And Nintendo does not have the legal right to monetize from those games. So, Smash Brothers. Now, you might have some trouble with that for other reasons, of course, but Nintendo cannot actually have that as part of the Nintendo Creators Program because they themselves have no way that they can actually monetize stuff from that. This, of course, also holds true for any games that have nothing to do with Nintendo at all. So, say Ratchet and Clank, for example, which, again, this is probably part of the reason why the live streaming is not part of the Nintendo Creators Program, is because, like I said, on a live stream, you cannot control the content. See, on a video, if you want to, say play Splatoon 2, and play nothing but Splatoon 2 in the whole video, well, that's Nintendo IP. That can be part of Nintendo Creators Program. But if you're live streaming, you're like, okay, I'm going to play some Splatoon 2, and then in the middle of that same exact stream, you hop over to Ratchet and Clank on the PS4, well, guess what? That can no longer be eligible for a Nintendo Creators Program because Nintendo has nothing to do with that IP. So they cannot legally monetize on that. And so they can't allow you to include that as part of the Nintendo Creators Program. So, you therefore can't monetize from it either. That's essentially how that works. I guess at that point you'd have to download the video, do video edits, and upload that stuff separately and whatnot because YouTube took away the video editor. But, again, another story, right? And I have one final question I'd like to address. And that is number 7. Is Nintendo infringing on copyright laws and fair use? This is something that is hotly contended, of course. And the answer to that is I simply don't know. I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff. There hasn't been such a precedent set on this yet. So far, it has legally been unchallenged what Nintendo is doing with the Nintendo Creators Program. But that being said, who knows? Let's assume that Nintendo is in the right with this. If they are, and the legal precedent is set, well, perhaps we will see more programs like this pop up in the future from other creators. And that could be quite disastrous as a content creator, having to sign up for a whole bunch of different things just to make any kind of ad revenue money. But, the thing is, a lot of YouTubers don't even consider YouTube as their primary income source anymore. They get revenue from Patreon, from merchandise, from Super Chat, all kinds of other things. So, I do have some advice, of course. And I just want to kind of point this out for anybody that is contemplating on stopping Nintendo live streaming, if you're currently doing it. My advice for that is simply don't do it. Continue live streaming the games. You want to appear to your fans that you're actually putting out content because you enjoy it. It doesn't matter if you're the greediest bastard in the world and the only reason you make money, or the only reason you make videos on YouTube is to make money, and you don't have any care about what people think about it or anything like that. You got to at least lead on the impression. You got to lead on that you're actually enjoying making the content and that you're doing it for them. So when I see someone like Angry Joe say that they're no longer going to cover Nintendo games, to me it looks greedy. Now, obviously, it looks kind of greedy. Nintendo's doing what they're doing in the first place. Completely understandable. That is certainly a solid perspective. But that does not justify his perspective on it at the same time. That's the difference, guys. See, you have to consider that your audience is going to be large and vast as you get to that certain level. And if you tell that audience, hey, I'm not going to cover any of these games, well, guess what? The audience is going to have to look elsewhere for that kind of content, which means they'll probably encounter other content creators that they might actually enjoy more, and maybe they'll stop watching your other videos over time. See, that's kind of the risk that Angry Joe has taken over just simply taking the occasional hit on monetization. Again, also, he could swallow his pride a little bit and participate in the program, get a slightly reduced hit in revenue, but still get revenue, because, I mean, he still gets a lot of views, so it's not like he's not going to make money on it. And on top of that, if he utilizes those other financial streams that you can utilize, like Patreon, Super Chat, and so on, well, then, there you go. You can definitely make up for any lost revenue, and you can also build up the goodwill for your audience, which should in turn help with the growth of your channel, which leads to revenue for your other videos that you actually get revenue off of, which should lead to more money, ideally, right? I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. It's called pro bono, sir, pro bono, whatever it is. Bono, you too, right? But anyways, it's called pro bono because, or bono, I don't know what it is. But it is called that because it's something that you do for goodwill reasons in order to help build up your reputation, which should ultimately lead to better financial gain or other kind of gains for you in the future. And so just consider it a pro bono effort, okay? I think that's a good way to look at it. If you don't want to live stream games for Nintendo, that's totally fine. But you should not go on a tirade on the internet to do it, guys. So I would like to thank you very much for watching. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, if you're watching to the end. And if you're not, well, then I guess you didn't hear this part. But anyways, Down Phoenix out.